Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Does anyone have any not necessarily scary paranormal stories? Ghost stories where the spirit isn't violent or vengeful but rather are more silent and mournful always get to me more than the thousands of shitty skinwalker stories that constantly pop up on here. Probably why I really love movies like Lake Mungo. Honestly, I think the more sorrowful type of ghost will probably be the one most people would turn into if ghosts exist, rather than the generic poltergeist bump in the night type.
I grew up in a haunted house with a very active poltergeist. Mostly harmless but prone to mood swings. We moved out when I was 10 and my sister was 14 because it suddenly got violent and dangerous, throwing knives. I've heard since then from many sources that girls in puberty make ghosts go crazy. But you wanted benign stories, so here's a very common occurrence. Be me. Little kid. In a house alone. Mum doing gardening. Dad fixing post 1970s BL car again. Sister out at friend's house. Be watching cartoons. Want cereal. Go to kitchen for cereal. Big house is big, 4 doors between the sitting room and kitchen. Go through the door from the sitting room to the hall. Slam door slams shut behind me. Go through the door from the hall to the dining room. Slam door slams shut behind me. Go through the door from the dining room to the smaller hallway. Slam door slams shut behind me. Go through the door from the smaller hallway to the kitchen. Slam door slams shut behind me. Giggle and say to the ghost, "Ha ha Charlie, that was fun." I called him Charlie all the time. Dunno his real name. Make cereal. Too much milk. BMP. Have to focus while carrying it to not spill. Say to the ghost, "Charlie, can you open the doors again?" Ghost opens the kitchen door. I walk through. Slams it behind me. Repeat with the other 3 doors, same thing. Get to the sitting room. Say, "Thanks Charlie." This was a very common, almost daily thing. If he was in a good mood, he'd open them for you and slam them behind you. When he was in a bad mood, he'd slam them in your face. When I was little, I thought ghosts were normal, since I'd only known life with one around. I used to talk to him when he was in the room like he was just another family member. Never saw an apparition of him, never heard him speak, but he could move things around, open and shut doors, drawers, etc. Thump, bang on the walls, like he was punching them, and we'd hear his footsteps pretty much every day. TLDR, I had a ghost friend as a kid.
Here's mine. For a period in my old house, I'd see a weird white light every night that would shift its shape constantly, and I used to have fun looking at it. One night in particular, it took the form of a beautiful woman in a Victorian dress, with long hair. She was looking in front of her, and I was on her left. She then slowly turned her face towards me, and she had traits much like a mannequin. Every time I blinked, she would instantly return to her initial position and start to turn her head slowly again. I was not scared but fascinated. I kept watching her for what seemed to be a lot of time, then I said something along the lines of, "I'm definitely too tired now, see you tomorrow." That was the last time I saw her. I kept trying to contact her for almost 2 years, hoping to see her again, but without results. Eventually, I had to move to another town, and that's the end of the story.
Can I post a personal experience without being called crazy? I've never shared it because I'm legit more afraid of being labeled a loony than what I saw. 2 years ago, be in the Ozarks hunting on Army Corps land near a park. Sit against a tree and wait looking down a lane in the woods towards a valley. Turkey hunting, so shotgun and no orange. I lay some camo burlap over my legs, and after seeing 3 deer pass by and hearing a hen cluck, I decide to stay put a little later than I normally would. It's getting towards dark where game and fish would consider low light, so I get ready to pack up. Hear a loud snap and pause to listen. noticing that every bug, bird, and creature around has stopped making any noise. I tilt my head to see around to the left and behind me where I heard the noise and saw a big black outline lumbering through the woods in my peripheral towards the opposite of where the noise was. I get a little startled and whip my head towards the shape and notice it looks like a bear, but it's running like a big cat would. Well, time to go. I get up and throw my burlap over my shoulder like a scarf instead of packing it away and start to walk at a moderate pace towards the edge of the woods. I had a good 40-minute walk ahead of me. See it again in the corner of my vision. This time it was facing me, but it had snuck around to the left again and I realize it was making circles around me, following me at a distance. Turn and pull the camo mesh off my face and scream at it, holding my shotgun over my head to look bigger. It doesn't fuck off like a native black bear would. Instead it let out a deep, humming, and began swinging wide again. Decide to keep up a decent pace, but not run so I wouldn't tire myself out or make it kick into hunting mode. Finally a clearing and only 30 more minutes of walking ahead of me. A strange sensation began to take hold of me and I felt seasick. My ears filled with the rhythmic thumping of my pulse even though I hadn't exerted myself, and I got a brief shot of dread filling my body. I turn back around and start heading for the wood line leading towards the exit when I see it nestled among the trees squatting, almost trying to hide. Fuck this. I was about 60 yards away and blasted 3 rapid-fire birdshot blasts aiming at its face. It didn't growl or roar, but instead made a guttural groan and I swear to God I could hear it say, "Ow," like a man would if he stubbed his toe and broke it. At this point I'd had enough and doubled back towards where I initially was hunting. I sprinted this time and caught the burlap around my neck on a branch that caused me to essentially clothesline myself to the ground. Scrambling I remember hearing the thundering of its footsteps behind me, but not seeing it. I used the last 2 shots in my tube and in the first flash of the gunshots I could see its face. It wasn't like a bear or a cat in the face, it looked like a fucked up dog. I don't know if I hit it or missed, but I kept running and because it was now almost pitch black I began to quickly lose my place and footing. I slapped 3 shells into my gun, the last ones I had. Then I remember nothing but faint memories of staring at the stars and the sunrise. I was found 10 hours later down in the bottom of the valley essentially asleep. Got treated for rib fractures, needed stitches for a couple cuts on my arms, and was questioned by local law enforcement. My shotgun was found busted into pieces, like someone had slapped it over a boulder. The backpack I was wearing was smashed flat like someone had pinched the sides extremely hard and was found at the top of the valley with one of the shoulder straps completely detached at both sides. Cops rule it off as me getting lost and falling. Never mentioned it to anyone, and I've never gone back into those woods. Still get made fun of for falling while hunting. I know that all sounds campy and dumb, but honest to God I'm terrified of what I saw. And after growing up and living in the woods I still today cannot tell you what the fuck I saw.
Grew up on a farm outside of Fresno. I can confirm without any personal doubt that the Nightcrawlers are real. I only saw them twice, but I lived at the bottom of the foothills and they'd typically only been seen at the end of fall and end of spring. My guess is they migrate to the mountains when it gets to snow season and leave once the snow melts. Both times I saw them were in cattle pastures. They clearly hang among the cattle, I guess, because it's easy to not be seen there. I was out for a walk and the cows got spooked by my dog and moved, and there it was. It stuck with the herd and they moved out of flashlight range, and I wasn't gonna risk hopping the barbed wire to get a better look. Second time was similar, except that one took off and was gone in an instant. I'm pretty sure they fucked with the coyotes around us, too.
A couple of years ago, my group of friends, including me, number 6, a friend, let's call her Anna, moved to the USA. We're from a European country, so there's 5 of us left. Almost every summer we go to the countryside where one friend has a small house. Across from her house is this old lady's house, maybe 50 meters away, so quite close for the countryside. She lives there alone. Her kids and grandkids live in the city, but visit her once in a while. She's a really cool old lady. This won't be a greentext where she spooks us or something cheesy like that. We usually spend a week or 2 just chilling, playing cards, drinking, grilling, etc. That year when our friend moved to USA, just 5 of us went there. Say hi to the old lady and stuff. Get unpacked etc. Couple of days in, we sit around a campfire at around 10-11 p.m., drinking beer and chatting. All of us suddenly stop chatting, naturally. I feel kind of weird, not scared, just perplexed. I realize I feel weird cause there's 5 of us, not 6 like previous summers, cause our friend moved to the US. Ask others if they also feel like someone's missing. Yeah, it's probably because we thought of Anna. I guess we collectively thought about Anna. Think nothing more of it for the rest of the evening. Next day, go to say hi to the old lady. Share some breakfast with her. I was hoping she would give us her apples. She's not there. That's really freaking weird cause she basically never leaves the house, only when her son comes from the city to pick her up. Her car is here, but she and her dog are missing. A little bit worried, but she could have gone to some other neighbor. Yes, they're a bit far off, but even an old lady could go there on foot. It's a half an hour walk. She comes back at around noon, without her dog. Says the dog went missing yesterday and she went to look for it, and when it got dark she was already tired and decided to sleep over at a friend's house which was closer. It does check out, by the way. People generally know each other around here, especially the old people. I get some apples from her, yum yum. Later in the day, I realized we all actually probably felt she was missing, but couldn't really put our finger on it. I'm 99% sure we felt the lack of her presence, and I'm glad that we all felt it. I just wonder why we felt it so late. The dog was really old and we found its body a couple of days later. It went to hide and die alone like dogs do. It hid under a tree and laid there. I thought it might have been the dog's death that we felt, but I'm 99% sure that we felt the absence of a person. What this makes me realize is that we humans have a kind of energy that perhaps is not specific enough in the cities, and there's a lot of noise because of many humans, so it's not a huge difference if there's not 20 people in an apartment building but 19. Perhaps we really can feel when we're being watched, and when we're completely alone.
When I was a kid, I was friends with a kid down the block. He once told me when his grandfather died, he was very sad, since they were pretty close. He said he saw his grandfather's ghost in the kitchen and they talked. I only remember one thing he said: "I am waiting for your grandmother." I also have a paranormal experience that happened to me recently, but I don't think it was ghosts. I was browsing an alien abduction thread late at night, in 2020's summer. It was around 23. Every single light in my room and apartment was turned off. Only my phone was on as I was browsing my thread on it. Suddenly my entire room lights up in very bright light. I don't even remember seeing any shadows in my room, and I have a furnace with wood in it and pipes for air and smoke of the furnace, going everywhere. My room was never light up as well after. The light was much better than the sun or anything I could find. Anyway, as my room lit up, I stood up on my bed and went into a boxing stance while pressing my back against the wall, so they can't attack me from the back. I also stayed on the bed to have reach and kick something in the face. In my mind, I thought gray aliens were going to abduct me.
I wasn't terrified or anything, but I felt like I was abnormally alert of my visual surroundings. Couldn't hear shit though, since I'm just your average everyday guy. If I was in a real life or death situation, I'd be buried 6 feet deep fast. My only regret if I died was that I didn't keep my sword next to my bed. I now sleep with it. No aliens came to me though. The light turned off. I heard a machine working outside my window. 4th floor apartment with thick drapes on windows. I went up to my key, light switch, and I turned the lamp myself. All I know is that the lamp didn't have the same light and it wasn't as good. So it was probably a remote light. Most people I've written this for told me UFOs don't make a sound. But that's about it for my paranormal experiences.
My grandma was incredibly superstitious. Would always say shit like, you shouldn't do X, because then Y will happen. For example, she once gifted me a new wallet with a $5 bill inside, a lot of money for a little kid. Mom got mad because grandma was pretty poor. Mom said I would just waste the money on candy. Fuck you, Mom, she was right. Grandma didn't care. She said you can't give someone a wallet without putting money in it because it invites the devil, shit like that. Anyway, I have a friend. John. His dad dies one summer. Heart attack. Died in the living room. I tell John what Grandma always said when someone died in the house. You better leave the door open all night tonight.
Why?
Because your dad's ghost is trapped in there and can't leave. John gets seriously spooked and tells his mom. His mom says,
"That's an old wives' tale."
John gets mad at me for lying, but I insist it's true and we get into a fist fight. Spend the rest of the summer fishing together. Fast forward. Winter of that year. Haven't seen John in a solid month. Call him up. He picks up the phone. Says he can't hang out. Why?
I just can't.
He talks real quiet, almost whispering. I hear some noise in the background and he says he needs to go click. Weeks later. I'm walking around by myself. Stop by John's house. He answers the door but won't let me inside. He looks like total shit. Says he's not allowed out of the house right now. I ask why. Boom. Huge crash from inside the house. Hear his mom yell something and then a commotion. John says, "I'll tell you later," and shuts the door. K. Winter ends. Late spring. I see John again.
You were right.
I ask WTF he's talking about. Says weird shit was going on in his house all winter. Ask what he means by weird shit. Won't tell me. Just says it freaked his mom out so bad that she couldn't be alone in the house. They finally got someone to come and bless it. All the weird shit stopped. Later that spring. Some kid in our class has an uncle who dies. I overhear John telling him to leave the front door open all night. LMO. To this day, I still don't know exactly what happened to him.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.